जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग, निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachaри Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Avai Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 2, Chapter number 2, The Lord in the Heart, Text number 36. Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada Hari Sarvatra Sarvada Shrotavyaha Kirtitavyascha Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam.
Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam.
Tasmat Sarvatra Sarvada
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam.
Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam.
Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan
Tasmat Sarvatmana Rajan
Hari Sarvatra Sarvada
Hari Sarvatra Sarvada
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam.
Smartavyo Bhagavan Nrinam. Word to word meaning. Tasmat, therefore, Sarva, all, Atmana, soul, Rajan, O King, Harihi, the Lord, Sarvatra, everywhere, Sarvada, always, Shrotavyaha, must be heard, Kirtitavyaha, glorified, Cha, also, Smartavyaha, be remembered, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Nrinam, by the human being. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Please repeat this translation. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always, and everywhere. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srila Shukadeva Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmat, or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, He should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. Machinery is not bad because through the machine one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear, because the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya Saraswati, Thakura, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ and others have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatana Dharma or Bhagavata Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavata means pertaining to Bhagavan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and all space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word cha includes all the remaining processes or methods of Bhakti Yoga as mentioned above. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। We are coming towards the end of this chapter, and in this verse Shukadeva Goswami is addressing Parikshit Maharaj and is telling him that, O king, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. And the purport Prabhupada explains that the word tasmat, or therefore, is being used because of the points which were mentioned in the previous few verses. So in the previous few verses, beginning from verse 31 onwards, Shukadeva Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj that it is only when we associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead on the platform of devotional service that we are not attracted to the spiritual world anymore. And he says this understanding was also corroborated by Brahma himself, to whom the Vedic literature was spoken. And Brahma developed conviction in this how? By scrutinizingly going through the Vedas 3 times. So Brahma went through the Vedas 3 times, and 3 times after studying the Vedas, Trir Anvikshya Manishaya. So scrutinizingly after studying the Vedas 3 times with great attention and concentration, Brahma also ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Lord Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. And because Krishna is there in every living being along with the individual soul, in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami is again re-emphasizing that it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Actually, today, not today, always, there is a continuous effort by different categories of people to propagate their idea of peace and prosperity. It has always been the case. Because different people have different ideas about what will ultimately bring peace and prosperity. So this propaganda is a very powerful tool. Political parties, they do so much propaganda, glorifying a leader, so much so that the followers start worshipping that leader as God. Same thing we see in the field of sports, we see that in the field of arts, movies, where through a system of continuous propaganda, this person is glorified so much that even though naturally we don't have any attraction for these things, we naturally get attracted. If you actually look at that person in reality, you will not find him to be something worth being attracted about. But there is so much of propaganda by literature, by visual media, social media, or by his followers spreading more and more word about him, that unknowingly we start getting attracted to such personalities. So this is one way by which we get attracted to personalities. Then there is another type of propaganda by which we get attracted to certain ideas. So there are many leaders in society who feel that by following this idea, we can make society. Those ideas could be anything from what kind of lifestyle we have to lead, which influences our lifestyle patterns. For instance, in our country, there was never a system of having breakfast. People generally used to have late lunch. Morning, they'll do all their worship, their work. Then they will go for their work. Around lunchtime, they'll have some lunch and come. But then, through this modern system of education, this modern system of learning, we come to hear that you should breakfast like a king, lunch like a miser, and dine like a pauper. And so somebody who follows this is considered to be more advanced. So even though we really don't know whether this really was propaganda, we become addicted to this idea that I need to have breakfast very heavily in the morning, then I need to have a light lunch, and I need not have my dinner. Whether it is right or wrong is a different thing, but how is it that we assimilate this? How is it that we identify with this? Is by a continuous system of propaganda. Similarly, what is driving everybody to go to school, to aspire to get good marks in what they study, then further pursue higher studies, then try to take up an occupation? Because this is also another propaganda. Our parents, our relatives, our teachers, our society, continuously they are bombarding us with this idea that only if you study, only if you work, only if you settle down in life, you can experience prosperity and peace. So this system of propaganda is very, very important for somebody to have an impetus for any action. Impetus for any action is driven by this propaganda, because this propaganda becomes our background consciousness. With what propaganda we surround ourselves becomes our background consciousness, and that becomes the impetus for work. Now there is war between India and Pakistan. Correct? Indians, they will think in a very, very different way. Pakistanis, they will think in a very different way. Why? Because the propaganda is different. We are made to deeply identify that our interest is in identifying ourselves as Indians. And no matter what, we have to work hard for this nation. Shri Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki, Krishna Balaram ki, Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. And Pakistanis are also thinking similarly. And they are identifying deeply with, protecting the interest of Pakistan, completely opposing anything that is Indian. India is thinking that, by stopping sending the Indus waters to Pakistan, we can safeguard our interests. So all this is driven by a certain propaganda. Now, what is the result of this propaganda? Are people really peaceful? Are really people experiencing joy by becoming part of this propaganda, by accepting whatever this propaganda is giving to them? So if we analyze this, people are actually not happy. In our own state, we see when some great leader dies, whether it is MGR, whether it is Jayalalitha, whether it is Karunanidhi, many of their followers, they are under so much grief, anxiety, so much so that they even try to commit suicide. Because ultimately what is happening is all this propaganda is convincing us deeply about one fact. That is, we are these bodies. We are these bodies, And all this propaganda is helping us in what? In increasing the conviction that we are these bodies, and by satisfying our bodily or mental needs, we will be happy. So therefore, all this propaganda is putting us on this temporary platform. It is convincing us to remain on this temporary platform, which is asat. So because this sort of propaganda is keeping us on the temporary platform, the result of this propaganda is ultimately ending in misery. No matter what it is, whether it is on the platform of glorifying a personality, glorifying an idea, glorifying a country, glorifying a society, or glorifying a certain quality, because all these are on the platform of asat. Anybody who is becoming absorbed in this propaganda, he can also not experience lasting happiness, because the platform of all this propaganda is on the platform of asat. So therefore, the solution for someone to be free from anxiety, to experience eternal happiness is what? He has to move out of the platform of asat and come to the platform of sat. That is why the first teaching of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one has to understand the difference between what is sat and asat. Arjuna is under complete grief. He does not know what to do. And Krishna is not giving him a solution. He is not telling him, you identify that you are a Pandava first and start fighting. Or you identify that you are a Kshatriya first and start fighting. He is saying, na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayor api drushtontas tvayayos tattvadarshibhihi. First you become a tattvadarshi. You understand the difference between sat and asat. Because only on the platform of sat can one experience that peace and stability. So this sort of understanding, for that to happen, another sort of propaganda is required. That propaganda is only mentioned here in this verse by Shukadeva Goswami, where he is saying, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Because this propaganda of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is on the platform of Sat. So when one develops attachment to the Lord by this propaganda, then what happens? He starts engaging himself in any one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, all the 9 methods, which is hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. So the impetus for doing any of these actions in devotional service comes from a propaganda of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what happens when there is continuous propaganda about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is slowly the dormant attraction for the Lord is evoked in the hearts of all living entities. When we are attracted by the propaganda on the platform of Asat, what is happening? We are developing attachment for so many things which are temporary in nature. And these are called anarthas. Anartha, that which is not required for the soul to experience happiness, or that which is coming in the way of us experiencing eternal happiness, is called an anartha. So all the propaganda that is now happening in this world, it is only increasing the anartha. It is making me think in terms of the body. I am thinking in terms of I am somebody's brother, I am somebody's son, I am somebody's servant, I am somebody's master, I belong to a certain nation, I belong to a certain community. So this is called aham. Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Aham means what I am identifying with. And the second anartha it is creating is in terms of mameti. This is mine. I need to possess this, then only I'll be happy. I need to get a good qualification. I need to get some wealth. Griha, Kshetra, Sutta, Apta. We start thinking in these terms. And when we start thinking in these terms, what happens? Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. So this sort of propaganda is only making us more and more deeply get entrenched in illusion, because of which there is more and more anxiety. Anarthas are increasing. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says that one has to have propaganda of the holy names of the Lord. There should be propagation of the holy name of the Lord, by which these anarthas are immediately extinguished. Now our heart is filled with all these anarthas. How to extinguish this? So in the end of the Bhagavatam, there is a very nice verse where Shukadeva Goswami is telling, I don't know if it is Shukadeva Goswami who is saying, but in the Bhagavatam this verse is there. Sankirtyamano Bhagavan Anantaha. By glorifying that Supreme Lord who is unlimited, Ananta. Sankirtyamano Bhagavan Anantaha Shrutanubhavo, or by even just hearing about him. You don't even have to speak, you don't even have to chant, but by hearing about the Lord who is unlimited, Shrutanubhavo, what happens? Shrutanubhavo Vyasanam hi pumsam. Vyasanam means the miseries of the people. So by propagating the glories of the Lord, or by hearing about the Lord, what happens to the miseries of the people? Vyasanam hi pumsam pravishya chittam vidinoti ashesham. The glories of the Lord enter the heart. Pravishanti chittam vidunoti ashesham. They completely remove from the root. Ashesham means nothing remains. Vidunoti means removed. So without these miseries remaining, everything is uprooted. How it is uprooted? Yatha tamo arko bhram ivati vataha. Yatha tamo arko. Just like when sunlight comes, tamaha or darkness is removed. Yatha tamo arkaha or abhram ivati vataha. A cloud is removed by a very fast moving wind. So Bhagavatam is saying this is the power of the propaganda of the names and glories of the Lord. Whatever anarthas are created by this false propaganda within our heart can be removed by this process of Sankirtana. So therefore, all the acharyas, as Prabhupada is mentioning here, whether it is Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or Jesus Christ, or Prophet Muhammad, what are they trying to do? They are trying to do this Sankirtana. They are trying to propagate, make a propaganda of the holy name of the Lord. Why? Because once the holy name of the Lord enters our heart, enters our chittam, then everything, asheshataha, all the anarthas are completely removed. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, what was the instruction he gave to all of us? Yare dekho, tare kaho, Krishna upadesh. This is the only business. Prithvi te yate yata nagaradigram sarvatra prachar hoy be moranam. Everywhere, in every place. So Bhagavatam is telling the same thing. The acharyas are trying to do the same thing. How? In every time, in every place, the only thing that should happen is the glorification of the Lord. Somebody has to keep glorifying, and we all have to keep hearing. So simply by hearing, what can happen? All our anarthas can go away. This is the only process by which one can be free from all anxiety. There is no other method. So in the purport, Prabhupada is telling that the purpose of all these Vedic literatures compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead, is only for the purpose of this hearing. So why so much literature is given? It is only for hearing. In Chaitanya Charitamrita also it is said, Ateva Krishna Veda Purana Karila Anadi Bahirmukha Jiva Krishna Bhuli Gela. Because we all have become Bahirmukha. Because we are surrounded by propaganda which is making us think that only satisfying our senses is in our self-interest. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. We have forgotten. Our real self-interest is to glorify the Lord, to serve the Lord. That we have forgotten. Krishna bhuli gela, jiva. So the living entities have forgotten. And for this purpose, to revive this forgetfulness, there is so much of Vedic literature given by Veda Vyasa. So this process of reading Vedic literature, especially Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that will help us remove all the anarthas. In fact, amongst all Vedic literatures also, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam is only recommended. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, there is this conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Veda Vyasa and Narada, where Veda Vyasa is, he has done a wonderful work. All the Vedas he has compiled. Upanishads he has compiled, Vedanta Sutra he has compiled, and he is dissatisfied. And then Narada is telling him, you have compiled literature which is for the crows. After all, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, everything is compiled. It is not even material subject matter. Because ultimately the glorification of the Lord is what is required for somebody to remove all his anarthas. Even if somebody hears Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads also, he cannot be peaceful till he comes to the platform of experiencing happiness in the glorification of the Lord. So it is very important that we hear more and more about the Lord. We hear more and more about the instructions from the Lord. Therefore, these two scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, simply by hearing this, what can happen? We can experience that peace and joy. So now somebody may ask that, there are many people who are hearing Bhagavad Gita, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but why they are not experiencing this happiness? Why they are not fully convinced? So here Prabhupada says, without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. So the methods of practice here refers to the 9 processes of devotional service. So anybody follows these 9 methods of devotional service, we should be able to make progress. But Prabhupada is saying, until one hears sufficiently and properly. 2 terms, very important. We have to hear sufficiently and we have to hear properly. What is the meaning of hearing sufficiently and hearing properly? So first thing is, we should hear from an authorized source. Correct? Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. Tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. We have to hear from a tattvadarshi, not from any ordinary person. Correct? So there are 2 things which are very important. One is, where are we placing our faith? Propaganda can come from so many places. Correct? But where do we place our faith in terms of understanding the absolute truth? We have this mobile phone. So many messages keep coming to us. But where do we place our faith? We place our faith in that message which is coming from a Tattvadarshi. Unless we place faith on a Tattvadarshi, on somebody who has seen the truth, we will not be fixed in Krishna consciousness. Because we are placing our faith on people who are not Tattvadarshi. Who is a person who is a Tattvadarshi? Who has seen this difference. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate tasatah, ubayorapi dushnontas, tavayos Tattvadarshibhihi. Tattvadarshi is a person who is distinguishing between Sat and Asat. So if you are placing faith on a person who is not a Tattvadarshi, then we will also continue to remain on the Asat platform. So first thing is, we have to listen from a Tattvadarshi. Second thing, this listening should be with what intent? It should be with an intent to follow the instructions. If there is no intent to follow the instructions, then this listening is of no use. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So, if this listening is not backed by following the instruction, then also we will continue to remain on the platform of asat. In the Bhagavatam, there is this, when you see this conversation between Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya. Shukracharya is a Brahmana. So he would have done everything. Patana, Patana, Yajana, Yajana. Pakka Brahmana means all Vedic literature he has studied. So when Vamana comes, he is able to identify this person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is able to identify. But is this understanding backed by the correct action? It is not backed by the correct action. He is saying, Lord is coming, don't surrender. He will take away everything that you have. But the moment Bali Maharaj understood, oh, this is the Supreme Lord, then I have to surrender. So what is the meaning of this sufficiently and hearing sufficiently and properly? Bali Maharaj has heard sufficiently and properly. Shukracharya has not heard sufficiently and properly. Because Lord has come, he is telling don't surrender. Bali Maharaj is saying, opportunity for service is there. I have to surrender. Shukracharya is thinking my material position will be affected. I will not surrender. What is the use of that hearing? There is no use of that hearing. Because you are continuing to remain on the platform of asat. So, a Tattvadarshi is a person who has sufficiently and properly heard. Arjuna heard Bhagavad Gita and immediately what did he say? Karishye vachanam tava. Ready to follow what you are saying. Simply hearing information, what is the use? We will remain on the platform of asat. There is no use. So, when we want to approach a Tattvadarshi, we have to see how that person is acting. Simply by that person speaking, we cannot understand whether that person is a Tattvadarshi. What is his action in all times and all places? In all times and all places, is that person willing to glorify the Lord? If that person is doing, that person is a Tattvadarshi. Otherwise, he is not a Tattvadarshi. So these two things are impediments in our proper and sufficient hearing. What are the two things? One is a lack of faith. Second thing is our material attachment. In the 9th chapter, Krishna says, if you have lack of faith, what happens? Ashraddhadana Purusha, Nashtasya, what is that? Dharmasyasya parantapa, aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, the faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. This is the purport of this verse. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotion of the Lord. Thus, faith is the most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should have complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he can achieve all perfection. This is called real faith. So, if somebody has sufficiently and properly heard what is the symptom, he will be fully engaging himself in Krishna's service, knowing that this is what will give me ultimate perfection. So until such time we should know that until such time that we are able to serve unhesitatingly, we should understand that our hearing is neither proper nor sufficient. The second thing, material attachment, how it comes in the way of our Krishna consciousness, that Prahlad Maharaj points out. In the Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj, there is a verse, no? Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova. You cannot become Krishna conscious Paratasvatova, either by your effort or even by somebody else convincing. We might put so much effort in hearing, listening, everything. Or somebody else also might try to convince us. Ultimately, Krishna consciousness is the goal of life. All that we will hear. But Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova. But we cannot become Krishna conscious. Why? Mitho vipadyeta grihavathanam. Because we are like grihavratas, completely attached. Our material attachments cannot allow us to become Krishna conscious. I am somebody's son, I am somebody's father, I belong to a certain nation, therefore I have got so many material obligations. My body is not cooperating, my mind is not cooperating. All these material attachments, they don't allow us to serve Krishna and therefore don't allow us to become Krishna conscious. So these two impediments, the lack of faith and the lack of unwillingness to cut off our material attachments, they keep us rooted to this material world. And what happens? We become a victim of material propaganda. We justify our actions because there is so much material propaganda which is telling, take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of your family, take care of your nation. And these material attachments and lack of faith, in the words of a Tattvadarshi, it keeps us on the material platform. So how do we develop this faith? How do we become free from material attachments? That also in this 9th chapter, 3rd verse, Prabhupada says that faith is created by association with devotees. Only when we serve in the association of devotees who are also, completely detached from their material attachments, who have developed so much faith in the spiritual master, just by seeing such devotees who are so blissfully engaged in devotional service, our faith in devotional service increases. We see other devotees how despite their bodily impediments, despite their mental impediments, they are able to give up all material attachments and are blissfully serving. We develop that attachment for devotional service. That is how Prabhupada was able to inspire so many people. Actually, if you see Prabhupada's life, you will see that every moment, in all circumstances, he was only trying to propagate Krishna consciousness, no matter what. Not even any single situation is there where Prabhupada was thinking in material terms. In the Jaladuta, when Prabhupada was traveling, we all know he encountered seasickness, heart attack and all that. And there, in one of the entries after that, Prabhupada says, my only source of nectar is reading this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what is Prabhupada taking solace in? He is taking solace in reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he further goes on to say that I am still able to continue on this voyage because of the promise, but the instruction given to me by my spiritual master. So that desire to serve the instruction of his spiritual master is what is making Prabhupada go to a foreign land in adverse circumstances. Because he knows, unless I develop this attitude of service to my spiritual master, I cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is not looking for any material solution in that place. He is taking solace of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He is fully attached to carrying out the instruction of his spiritual master. That is why Prabhupada is a Tattvadarshi. Because in all circumstances, all situations, he is not taking shelter of a temporary platform. He is then also there on the spiritual platform. recently when this terrorist attack broke out, there were many spiritualists also who spoke about this, leaders of big matas. So they were saying, this attack has to be condemned. The perpetrators of the crime, they should be severely punished. Our prayers are there for all the people who have been victimized. And then somehow some of the Matadipatis, they also said, we will give some money to these people and all that. So this was their response when this attack between India and Pakistan has happened. Interestingly, in 1962, this was a time when China attacked India. Indo-China war happened. At that time, Prabhupada was in India, Vrindavan, and he was translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. So we all know, before going to the West, Prabhupada was working on the Srimad Bhagavatam, first and second canto. So there, in the first canto, this is in the chapter number... where that verse is there, no? To bring about a revolution in the mind of this Bhagavatam as a literature. Which verse is that? First canto. Yeah. So Bhagavatam, first canto, 5th chapter, 11th verse. Prabhupada was translating this chapter. First canto, 5th chapter, 11th verse. Yeah. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abaddavatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat shrunvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha. So this verse says, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. So this propaganda, this literature concerning the Lord, it brings about a revolution. So coming back to what we were discussing, in 1962 when this war happened, Prabhupada was writing this Bhagavatam. So here if you look at the purport, Prabhupada is writing, while preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness. And every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There was no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. So, Prabhupada is not telling whether India, what strategy it has to adopt with China, whether those people have to be punished or not. He is saying the cause of India-China war is what? You have stopped the glorification of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is a duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. So you see how much faith Srila Prabhupada had in the propagation of Krishna consciousness. He was never looking for any other situation. In all times, in all situations, the only thing that Prabhupada wanted to rely on was the glorification of the Lord and nothing else. So, no matter what the situation is, we have to take shelter of an Acharya who, in all situations, is only putting his protection in Krishna consciousness. Even when Prabhupada went to America, so many other people who had gone before him, they were telling him, here this culture and all will not work, people have a different culture. Prabhupada had firm conviction. Solution for all problems, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Even before Prabhupada came in touch with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Prabhupada was also thinking, our country is a dependent nation, now we have to fight for independence. Therefore, we have to follow what Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose are saying. But the moment he heard Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, immediately he understood that the real way for peace and prosperity is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this quality of having firm faith in the words of the spiritual master and Krishna and detaching ourselves from all our material attachments, only that will help us to come to this point of being able to glorify and remember the Supreme Lord always and everywhere. Because only if we come to this point where we are always and everywhere able to remember the Lord, we can perfect our lives. With this, we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.